Thank you, Deborah, and good morning to you all. I hope you are enjoying this amazing event. Deborah, can I move my head now? Okay, don't look like Austin Powers here up in front of everyone. And thanks to our good friends at LinkedIn for inviting us to be with you today and to share in this. So thank you so much. I'd like to start with a story. "28 years ago, I walked into a housing development in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, and I was introduced to a 10-year-old boy from the Dominican Republic named David Heredia. At that time, David's neighborhood was the most heavily photographed crime scene in New York City. It was the height of the crack and AIDS epidemic in our country. It was literally ravaging communities. I had the good blessing to spend every Saturday of my life with David for 3 years. And what he taught me changed my life forever. Because David and his 4 brothers had all of the ambition, motivation, and talent I had ever seen in a group of young men, and they had absolutely no idea how to shift that ambition and talent into productive capacity. And I remember thinking to myself at that point, we are wasting so much human capital in a country where we have absolutely no one to waste if we are going to remain globally competitive. What I didn't realize, though, back in 1988, was that David and his brothers represented one of 6 million young people in the United States of America who are out of school, out of work, and don't have more than a high school degree. It's about 16% of every single young person in this country. And it's 23% of every young person of color in this country. Can you imagine trying to run a democracy, to create a civil society, when 1 out of 4 of your young adults of color are effectively out of the economic mainstream? And this has a tremendous cost to it. The cost is $97 billion a year to this country. Now, at the exact same time, we have the supply of labor that's untapped. We know we'll have 12 million jobs requiring post-secondary education that will go unfilled over the next decade. We have a mismatch, a broken market for talent. We have millions of young people seeking employment, millions of folks like yourselves looking for talent, and that market isn't clearing. And I would love to say it's going to get easier, folks. It's actually going to get harder. As baby boomers retire, as the knowledge economy requires new and different skills, and sadly, our public education system is not equipped to keep up today with what we need across this country. And that's why I started the program called Year Up. Our mission is to work with low-income 18 to 24-year-olds, and in 1 year, to enable those young adults to go from poverty to a professional career with great companies like the ones you all represent here today. And we do that by partnering like a professional services company with the best companies in the world and provide them with a long-term pipeline of talent. Not low-income talent, not talent of color, of talent, hungry, motivated young people who want that job. And I remember so well those first 22 students back in 2001. Still to this day, I get to see and speak with many of them on a regular basis. And it's because they are talented that this organization has grown over the years. Now, our model is actually pretty simple. We bring in young adults who are talented and motivated. 6 months, they get trained. They get trained in what you tell us you want, which are a set of professional skills. Also something marketable, whether it's in finance, technology, inside sales, customer service. We backward integrate and create curriculum that meets the needs of our partners. After that 6 months of training, those young adults go into your companies for 6 months as interns, And at the end of it, you get to hire whoever you like. Think of it as temp to perm or try before you buy. And because those young adults are who we know they are, is over the past 16 years now, we've been blessed to serve 15,000 young adults across this country in 300 leading companies. And you know what? Their average wage is now $38,000 a year, which is like 3 times the poverty level. In 1 year, you jump over poverty and you do not go back. I'm so happy to tell you that our interns and now graduates are getting rave reviews from companies all over the world. In fact, at Google, we are the only approved internship program globally below the baccalaureate level in all of Google. And they'll tell you our interns have performed better than any other single group of interns they've seen. We now have major Fortune 50 companies building Year Up into their long-term workforce planning, right? You need 500 people. We can produce that with you over the next several years. I thought it might be helpful just to take a moment and to see how one of our partners, JPMorgan Chase, actually works with Year Up on a day-to-day basis.
LinkedIn and Year Up's visions could not be more closely aligned. We are both in the business of creating economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. Where we think we can have a bigger impact is by leveraging our business and our platform to help connect these extraordinary youth to companies like yours. We can use our economic graph to identify what the most in-demand skills are and feed that back to Year Up students so they're showing up with the skills that you need to hire. Hopefully, you will be inspired by companies like JPMorgan and ourselves and consider joining us in hiring these extraordinary youth.
The banking world is changing. Technology is allowing us to provide new capabilities to our clients so that we can serve them where they want, how they want, and when they want. In order to meet this goal, we need top talent at every level of our organization.
We are excited to have a new and innovative way to increase the access to banking jobs and a career for young adults in this country.
We are piloting in Chicago, New York, and Miami a year-long workforce development program. The candidates go through a specifically tailored 6-month educational program that focuses on professional sales and service, as well as an introduction to banking. Year Up students intern with us for 6 months to learn our culture, as well as develop the professional skills that will be vital to them in their career.
We've worked with Year Up since 2008 and have provided 700 internships. Of those 700 interns, 200 have been hired full-time into JPMorgan Chase, and we've also assisted the other interns in finding placement in other firms within the industry.
I've been at the firm for 3 years, and when I see the new interns come through and I see the excitement on their face, it reminds me of when I was an intern. We all come from different circumstances, but I think the circumstances make us who we are, and it makes us unique.
Where I come from, success doesn't come easily, but with Year Up's mantra of lift as we climb, I've been able to achieve the great success that I have now.
We're very excited about this program because it addresses a critical talent need that we do have. Yet, it also focuses on helping young adults as they start their careers.
We partner with Year Up because it works, and although we provide the terrific opportunities between Year Up and JPMorgan Chase, the youth themselves really demonstrate why they're a terrific talent pool.
There's so much talent and potential in the young adults of this country.
Please join us in making a commitment to hire Year Up interns to ensure that economic opportunity is truly accessible to everyone.
So I'd like to suggest to you today that building that pipeline of talent might be closer than we think. With a few changes, we can start to see people that we may not have seen before, to access talent that we did not or could not access in the past. And some of the things we're learning, I'm sure this is not brand new news to you, but the things we're seeing and learning as we do this work. Well, the first is You hire for skills, not for schools. If you go back to your companies and you look at your website and you go to the job description, if you say 4-year degree required, you've just disqualified 86% of Latinos and 82% of African Americans in the United States of America today. I think about our partnership with State Street Corporation. They've now hired 600 young adults full-time into fund accounting. And guess what? Our students stay 3 times longer in those jobs than the college graduate who actually didn't want that job to begin with. You get a more reliable, hungry workforce that is staying longer, progressing throughout that organization. And so folks like State Street, they're looking at competencies, not just degrees. They're thinking about how they support diverse populations as they come into their workforce, and they're removing the filters and the barriers that are proxies for talent, not actually indicators and true measures of talent. In addition to that, we're helping companies build many more pathways and on-ramps into their organization. And I'll explain what I mean. We'll do a little bit of an audience participation. I want you to raise your hand if you have a 4-year degree. Please keep it up if you got that degree between the ages of 18 and 22. Take a quick look around. I would argue about 90+% of the hands, you can put your hands down, thank you, about 90+% of the hands just went up in answering those 2 questions. If you went to any 100 adults in America today and you asked those same 2 questions, what % of the hands would be up? Anyone want to shout an answer? 30, 20? 8 hands would be up in America. Only 8% of the US population has a 4-year degree that they got between the ages of 18 and 22. The average age of a Bachelor of Arts is 28 in this country today. In the traditional view of college, you go to school, you go to work in a linear fashion, does not apply to the vast majority of our Americans. So we need to think about different pipelines of talent. What American Express did is said we need 200 Java developers. We're going to create a separate category below the baccalaureate. We're going to call it the 0.5, because they started at 1. 0.5 category. They're bringing in 200 Europe graduates in Java. They're 85% as productive as the college graduates they would have hired, and they're staying much longer and fired up about that job. Amex is saving $1 million a year in working with us in Java. That is a leadership testament to American Express and their ability to see talent differently. And the good news about this is that it's not just good citizenship. As Brian talked about in the previous panel, this is a business case. There's an ROI here, right? And we think about supply chain management for human capital. This is how you generate worth and value for companies. We study this assiduously of what's the value of investing in a middle-skilled pipeline of talent. And let me tell you, there's a lot of money to be made here. And so it isn't just about good citizenship. It is also about talent. I'm going to tell you one more story. The gentleman behind me that you see grew up not knowing his dad. He sadly was taken away from his mom when he was quite young because she was addicted to drugs. He grew up in foster care. He actually made it to college with all that challenge on an athletic scholarship. And as he said, I was wholly unprepared for that transition. I did poorly. I fell into the wrong crowd. And because a car he was traveling in had an unregistered firearm in it, he spent a year in jail. When he came out of jail, he came to year up. He applied to our program. He got accepted. He did great in his training. He then went to an internship at a tech company that did not discriminate against him for what happened when he was 19 years old. Think about how policy affects this. For the past 9 years, Greg Walton has been a technician at MIT. He owns his own home. He has 2 beautiful children. His wife, Alicia, is fantastic. And Greg was over my home recently for dinner, and he said, you know, Gerald, I don't know if you can appreciate this, but when you grew up how I grew up, when you had no stability at all in your life, and you now carry your children over the threshold of a home that you bought with your hard-earned money, when you cook on that stove dinner for those children, and the stove you and your wife purchased, and when you tuck those children into bed at night, into a bed that they will never be without, my friend Gerald, I don't know if you will ever know how good that feels. And so I think about as I close, it is the people in this room, it's why I'm so fired up to talk to you. It is the people in this room who work in the best companies in the world. You collectively have the power to disrupt the social narrative. You collectively have the power to redefine young adults like Greg from being social liabilities to being economic assets. You get to redefine who's talented in this country, where does talent reside, how do we access this talent. And I want to thank you because so many of you are stepping into this space and stepping into it powerfully. And I invite you to continue this dialogue with us, whether it's at our booth outside, whether it's at our breakout session later today, because let me tell you, I know the people in this room, if you put your minds to this, we can collectively pass on to our children a society that lives up to our ideals of opportunity for all. We can help our businesses win, and we can live up to the ideals of this country. You all have that power in your hands. I love speaking with you. I'm grateful to be here, and I'm inspired to know you're helping to lead this charge across our country. So thanks so much, and enjoy the day.